Audio recordings have been around since the 19th century. As time goes on, there have been a few audio recordings that sound harmless, memorable, and makes you smile, whereas some are here to shock, unnerve, or disturb you. In this video, I'll be talking to you about 5 audio recordings that do all 3. In any case, hopefully you enjoy this video and feel free to follow me on social media and consider subscribing to this channel for more videos like this. On April 9, 1860, the first and oldest audio recording was created by a French inventor named Edward Léon Scott de Martinville. At that time, obviously any voice recording app didn't exist, nor a microphone and such. What he did is by inventing the earliest known device for recording sound known as a phonautograph. The way it works is that the machine transcribes sound waves as undulations or other deviations in a line traced on the smoke-blackened paper or glass. 150 or so years later, the recording was created on a paper using several phonautographs. Then, they were optically scanned and using a computer, the scans were processed into digital audio files. What you're about to hear is the eerie 20 seconds of Edward's voice singing the folk song Au clair de la lune, or By the Light of Moon. On September 8, 1944, a monster was born. Paul Michael Stefani was born into a Catholic family and was the last of 10 children. He has a mother who was remarried when he was 3, giving him a stepfather. His stepfather, however, was abusive, as he was known to beat his stepchildren and sometimes throw them down the stairs. His span of crimes went from the year 1980 to 1982. His first victim was killed on New Year's Eve 1980. Paul beat up a woman named Karen Potok, inflicting severe wounds and brain injury. He then called the police at approximately 3 AM to report the attack. 6 months later, on June 3, 1981, Paul killed an 18-year-old student from Wisconsin, Kimberly Compton. Like his first victim, he called the police. However, 2 days later, he called them again in a weeping voice and saying sorry for stabbing Compton and would turn himself in. Then, he again called, whimpering and crying on June 11, 1981. There, he was nicknamed the Weepy-Voiced Killer. On August 21, 1982, Paul picked up a 19-year-old worker named Denise Williams, but then smacked him on the head with a glass bottle. She then screamed and caught the attention of a man who lived nearby, seeing Paul trying to stab Denise. The man was able to call for an ambulance and later help identify Paul. He then sought for medical help, but the call later confirmed that Paul was indeed the Weepy-Voiced Killer and was sentenced to 40 years in prison. He later died in 1998 from skin cancer. What you're about to hear is the 911 call between the operator and Paul after he killed Compton.
Fire emergency.
Please don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry I killed that girl. I stabbed her 40 times. Kimberly Compton was the first one. Oh, my safe. Oh, I don't know what's the matter with me. I'm sick. I'm going to kill myself, I think.
Where are you?
I'm just going to... If somebody dies with a red shirt on, it's me. I killed both of you. I'm sorry. I'll never make it to heaven. Oh, yeah. You find me, I just stabbed somebody with an ice pick. I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody.
It's the year 1967, and the USSR, or the Soviet Union, was determined to plan something very special. The plan was 2 space capsules were to rendezvous in low Earth orbit, and Soviet cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov was to park on the capsule next to the other. Then he would spacewalk between the 2 crafts. On April 23, 1967, Komarov went into a space journey. Over the course of 24 hours, he was able to orbit the Earth 16 times, but was unable to complete the end goal of his mission. They then instructed Komarov to come back to Earth, however his re-entry to Earth will be his end. Komarov reached an altitude of 23,000 feet, however his parachute failed to deploy. The module then crashed into the ground, killing him. He demanded to have an open casket funeral so that he wanted to send a message to the government officials who had caused his death. These were Komarov's remains. What you're about to hear is Komarov's final moments before he died. As weird the name sounds, the audio recording might be unnerving to listen. Detected by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, the sound consists of a long train of narrowband upsweeping sounds of several seconds in duration each, underwater. Apparently the sound is to be seasonal, generally reaching peaks in spring and autumn. NOAA scientists and researchers speculate it to be an underwater volcanic activity, whereas the users have other things to say about it, saying that it calms them or does the opposite. What does this sound make you feel? "1955, almost 20 years of warfare, the Vietnam War has begun. Eventually, North Vietnam won the battle and became known as the Socialist Republic of Vietnam in this generation. In the Vietnamese culture, there's a belief that the dead must be buried in their homeland, otherwise their soul will wander aimlessly in pain and suffering. During the war, the USA used its advantage, tried to trick the Viet Congs into leaving by playing audio recordings of the dead friends wandering around, calling it Operation Wandering Soul. Weeks go by, and with the help of South Vietnamese soldiers to record the tape, they finally made it. The tape, dubbed Ghost Tape Number 10, were played on loudspeakers in areas of Viet Cong activity, generally at night. Helicopters were even deployed at times to play the recordings to trick the Viet Cong soldiers. Eventually, the USA stopped Ghost Tape Number 10 in the early 1970s, but you can still hear it as it's available to listen on YouTube. Be warned on how unnerving it sounds.
tôi đang bà đang về với con đi. Cháu về đi. Về đi các bạn. Về đi. Về đi. Về đi.